Welcome to Mindshock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and we are back at it again with another Mindshock Live Q&A. Anything goes. All questions will be answered on any topic, and as usual, we will be going over the homework assignment from the previous Q&A, which was to watch the film The Game with Michael Douglas. We will be going over everything that film entailed in typical Mindshock fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. And again, any questions on any topics will also be answered in the chat. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. So, let's see who's in here. The usual suspects. We got Flat Bob in the house making some cookies. Sarah Catherine, hello. Pinto Sack, and Denise Snyder. Flat Bob right out of the gate with a major question. A heavy-duty question, but typical of what we go over on Mindshock. Flat Bob says, Bruce, why do you think people get so upset and triggered by anyone questioning the mainstream narrative, whether science or history, etc.? That's actually an incredibly complicated question, and it's a good one to start off with. It's definitely a great question to start off with. So, I've gone over quite a few facets of this, from psychology to mental capacity to, and, all the overlaps here. So, there's many levels here. Ultimately, if I was forced to boil it down to a single variable, I would say mental weakness. Because regardless of how intelligent they are, obviously, when one is triggered, their logic switch turns off. But in terms of mental capacity, they could be a super genius. You can be a mentally weak super genius, or you can be a mentally strong, mentally disabled individual. Both exist. So, mental weakness would prevent people from even considering the possibility that they have been hoodwinked. Now, there's plenty more involved here. Obviously, the Dunning-Kruger effect, where obviously if they don't have the competency to assess their own incompetence, they're going to make certain assumptions and leaps of faith. But I would say it all boils down to mental weakness. So I actually did a whole podcast on Is Your Brain Weak? And you can check that out there. I would say that's, if you told me I could only pick one reason, and one reason alone, it'd be mental weakness. We also have the Dunning-Kruger effect. We have cognitive dissonance. We have narcissism. Let's not overlook narcissism. Narcissist goofs, their egos have them on such short strings, their ego won't allow them to even consider these questions. So even if they are smart, and even if they understand logic and reason, if something involves them being hoodwinked and their ego is so out of control, they simply won't even examine, they won't use their ability. Like, let's say you're an athlete, you're a sprinter, one of the best, fastest people in the world. You won't even start running if certain conditions aren't met. It's the same thing. So extremely smart people, they won't even open the door to utilize the intelligence if they're too triggered right off the bat, and if their ego has them on too short strings due to their narcissism. So if I had to rank them, I would probably put mental weakness at number 1, narcissism at number 2, because there's a lot of humble people out there. They might think you're wrong, but they won't get triggered. So there you have it. Hope that was a good enough answer out of the gate for the 10th Mindshock Q&A. We got Lord Zed in the house. We have Heracles in the house. A lot of the usual suspects up in here. Yeah, you can be a genius and mentally weak. I mean, there's different types of genius, right? Like, if somebody has a great understanding of certain topics and subjects, but if they get triggered, they won't even be able to tap into it because that part of the brain gets shut off. The cognitive dissonance spiral. I mean, a lot of geniuses also suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? I mean, just because you're a genius doesn't mean you have the competency to assess your competence, regardless of where on the scale the competency is. I mean, there's a ton of PhDs out there that suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's kind of a bell curve. You might even be more likely to suffer at the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So, yeah, you can definitely be a genius and mentally weak. And you could be mentally disabled and mentally strong. By mentally strong, I mean you could be stubbornly mentally strong. We have a question here from Pinto Sack. What's your thoughts on physiognomy? I'm pretty sure I can detect someone's political proclivities based on how they look with approximately 80% accuracy. Yeah. That's an interesting subject. Honestly, I haven't really I haven't done a deep dive into this simply so I think it's kind of like with anything. It's almost like it's like a bell curve. So most people you probably couldn't really detect much. But on certain, if they have certain extreme features, so I would do the inverse of your percentage. I would say maybe 20% of the time it could come in handy, but there's simply too many other variables. Flat Bob says, so they're afraid of their illusions being destroyed. Honestly, it makes sense, but some people don't even care to know the truth, and that's wild to me. Well, that's mental weakness, right? Because if you're mentally strong, you can handle the truth, right? You can't handle the truth. Most people can't handle the truth. It's true. Most people can't handle the truth in their current state. It's kind of like I've brought this example up on some of the older podcasts. I haven't brought it up on the recent ones. It's like running a marathon. You can't expect an obese person to roll off the couch and run a marathon. They need to train, just like with mental strength. So I think anybody can train to be able to handle the truth. For some people, it'll be a much longer training process than others. But yeah, people are comfortable and people are mentally weak. People take the path of least resistance, right? So why would they rage against the machine, so to speak? Because the machine controls every aspect of their life, like the Matrix, like the Mr. Smith effect. Everyone becomes everyone becomes an agent of the Matrix. The NPCs, when their own reality is threatened, their safety blankie. They're blankie. Like coincidence theorists can't handle many coincidences, many conspiracies because they don't want to live in that kind of world. They're too mentally weak to be able to handle living in the kind of world where corrupt people exist. And they don't always act alone. They're just too mentally weak. It all goes back to that mental weakness. Not stupidity, just mental weakness. Flat Bob says, by the way, I haven't had time to do the movie watching thing, Bruce. Been too busy working. If you think it's a good one, I'll try and make time to watch it. Just let me know where I can. I'm not even sure. I actually had that. I have a lot of older movies, so, and I don't really watch newer ones, so I don't do too much on streaming other than most of the free streaming platforms. But Yeah, I mean, it's not required, but there will be spoilers. So if you are interested in watching it and don't want spoilers, don't listen to the podcast. But, because it is a live Q&A, there's plenty of other questions you can ask. It's just to keep it fun and entertaining. We kind of started doing homework assignments with movies. So the one on the previous Q&A was the the Sam Jackson movie. Was it Lakeview Terrace? I already forgot it because we already went over it. And then the one before that was Running Scared. Now we have the game, which we're going over. We're going over tonight. We're going over the game. And next Q&A, we're going over The Glass House, which is an underrated psychological thriller. I just rewatched that. I'd only seen it one time at the time of release. It was 2001, starring Lily Sobieski and Diane Lane and Stellan Skarsgård. He always plays bad guys. So yeah, it's an interesting movie, but so that's the next one, and then the one after that's going to be The Hidden. So yeah, we got a long list, quite a long list to go through. The game's going to be fun though. The games they're going to be is going to be fun. Groupthink skeptic in here. Will the April 8th solar eclipse have effects on social behavior? Yeah, I mean, that's a rabbit hole in and of itself. I was actually just watching something earlier on how it's not a true eclipse. It's actually, yeah, it was weird. Apparently, the alignment might be off. So I don't know. I need to look into that more. But obviously, if we're living in an electric universe, everything's electric, everything's frequency, then sure, yeah. I mean, astronomical. I mean, even full moons supposedly have effects on people's behavior. So, obviously, I would say most events, astronomical events would have some effect, even if it's more subconscious and not noticeable. So Lord Zed said, I've previously said for many years the game was my favorite movie. Now a couple past it, but still love. Salt says, will there be a breakdown of the newish Flat Earth debate with Fight the Flat Earth? Yeah, I mean, right now I'm recovering from Michael Knowles. I want to finish the logical analysis he did with Pearl. Maybe I'll try to finish that tomorrow or after tomorrow. And yeah, we have the Logic Olympics, the next round coming up as well. I'm making plans for hosting debates here on this channel as well, and then I still have to finish scheduling a couple of interviews here on Mindshock. So, and then I do have 2 more Witsit debates that I'm still working on breaking down. So I will do, what the Mindshock listeners want. If you want to add it to the list, I got a long list. Pinto Sack says, need you to settle another bet. Is it possible to dig half a hole? Well, yes, if the parameters of the hole were predefined. So if someone says they want you to dig a 2x2, or, well, if it's by depth, if they want you to dig a hole 2 feet deep, and you dig it 1 foot deep, you just dug half of the hole of the preset parameters. If there are no preset parameters, I mean, I don't know. I guess not. Denise Snyder also saw The Glass House. There's certain underrated films around that time frame, late 90s, early 2000s. I believe the early 2000s was also, if you for those that missed our earlier stream on when did the action movie die, I think there's also just a parallel of just the death of Hollywood itself, where it just turned into just basically soulless garbage. Where I think the early 2000s was kind of like the really the the last time period where many movies were churned out with originality and soul. Now you might get one a year, maybe. I don't know. Oh yeah, Salt. I definitely won't be getting to it within the next week or two. Probably not. So yeah, if time is of the essence. Flat Bob says, I heard about it, haven't seen it. Did Craig really have a heart attack? What? I am Iron's cat asks, do you ever stop working, Bruce? Well, I have an easy answer for that one. Perhaps I exist outside of time and space. Rodney Thomas says Dark City from '98 was underrated. Definitely. I mean, there's an argument to be made that Dark City is a better movie than The Matrix. They literally used sets from the was it The Matrix that used the sets from Dark City or the other way around? I forgot now. Yeah, we're definitely gonna. Dark City will make the list at some point. I just want to get through a couple other ones first. So let's get to yeah. Taylo Biz says '90s and early 2000s were the best movies. I think. Well, in terms of both quality and quantity, because in the '60s and the '70s, I mean, there were some great movies too, but there weren't as many being made. Yeah, through the early 2000s was probably the last time where a lot of great movies were being made. Rodney Thomas says, for me, Hollywood died after 1991. It was like the film industry went to trash on January 1st, 2000. I disagree. I think there's a lot of quality films. Have you seen the cinematic masterpiece known as Exit Wounds, starring Steven Seagal? That was 2001. I mean, there was a lot of great movies post 2000. I mean, not compared, not in the amount as prior, but yeah. There you go, Rodney Thomas. That was post January 1st, 2000, my friend. Rocky Balboa was 2006. That's probably my favorite Rocky. And then the Rambo he did 2 years after that was like 2008. That was pretty good too. I mean, I get your point though. I mean, obviously there was not a lot. I would say 2000, at least two. You got to at least include 2001. You'd probably go 2003 ish. The decline was starting to get noticeable, probably around 2003. 2003, 2004, there were more and more bad movies. I mean, you still had good ones, but it's just the skew became evident. I don't think the cutoff was 2000. I think there was a lot of great movies in 2000, 2001. 2002, first half of 2002 maybe as well. Yeah, 2003, 2004, there was a noticeable slide in quality, I would say. Yeah, Extraction was solid. 2008 Rambo that's probably my favorite Rambo, actually. I am Iron's cat. The Seagal Mindshock will be pretty soon. The Mandela I'm still working on. The Seagal one, I almost have everything in order for that. The Mandela fact, I still have a couple theories I wanted to finish flushing out before posting. What's up, Sun UV Liberty? Okay, so let's talk the game. This is gonna get controversial. I mean, Flat Bob says Bruce loves him some Steven Seagal. I like all those guys, man. Van Damme, Seagal, Stallone, Arnold. I mean, Seagal's definitely the most underrated out of all of them. And people, a lot of people today, so because Seagal's reign was a little bit shorter than even Van Damme's, people don't know how big Seagal was. I mean, there were a couple years there in the early to early 90s, maybe up to 94-ish. Seagal was huge. Seagal was up there with Arnold, Stallone, and Van Damme. Yeah. Lord Zed says, I love them all. It doesn't change the fact that Seagal destroys each one with relative age. So Flat Bob says Under Siege was a good one. That was one of my least favorites. I mean, I like it, but it was one of my least favorites. Yeah, Heracles. I wore out all of my Seagal and Van Damme tapes. I am Iron's cat. Bruce keeps getting the AI, putting him in more Mandelas when he gets close to finishing the Mandela effect. You are not entirely wrong there. I don't believe so. Groupthink Skeptic says River's Edge with Dennis Hopper 86. I don't know if I saw that. I don't know. If I did, it probably would have been close within a few years of the release, so quite a long time ago, if I saw it. Okay, so let's talk the game. The game, Triple H likes to say, the game. Okay, so let me read everybody's ratings from the community tab, which I posted earlier, before I give my spoilers and my analysis. And it actually turns out I hadn't really seen it. I think I might have been in a room when somebody was watching it on VHS for the release, but I didn't remember anything about it, so it was basically like seeing it for the first time. So Nick Fingar gave it a 10. He said he loved it. Dave Scott said it was a mind shocker. Brutally Honest said one of the better movies I ever saw, rating a 9.5. Barry Soy Toro, what a name, or Barry Soy Toro, 9.4. I had no idea I was a David Fincher fanboy. Captain Hatton, the game is a 10. Father Stack, 8.5 out of 10, solid, bloody solid thriller. Captain Hatton also said, the only film content I will accept from Mindshock must be Oleg centered. If it involves cinema and not Oleg, I will not be watching. Have a nice day. We didn't spend that many hours on Oleg. Okay. Pinto Sack said solid 9. Maria Carraro said 10. Askin Iman said 10 or 42 on a rating out of 10. Hala Atcha 08 gave it an 8. Han Banan 365 says, I've never seen it. Thanks for your input there for the rating. Andrea Turnquist said 10. Denise Snyder says, I'd give it a 6. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I found the ending a bit underwhelming. I don't believe that Douglas conveyed the depth of emotion that I expected someone to have after experiencing what should have been such a life-altering epiphany. I actually agree with Denise Snyder, and we'll get into that in a moment. Dave Scott responded, I think he played it well. In my line of work, I interact with quite wealthy men, and they are the furthest thing from showing much, if any, emotion. Looked authentic to me, but I'll give it another look. Denise responded, his acting was great. Maybe it was something lacking in the script. It seemed to me that a balance was lacking between the horrors he went through and the benefit at the end of it all. Denise said, on further reflection, my scoring is probably more indicative of my dissatisfaction with the ending rather than my assessment of the film in its entirety, so given that possibility, I'll upgrade my rating to an 8.5. and with an A, Crying Game gave it a 10. So if anybody is in the chat right now that did not rate the game, feel free to give your rating, and then I will dissect this. Heracles said, missed the community page. Yeah, I don't know what YouTube does with the notifications. It's supposed to notify everybody for new posts in the community tab as well, but apparently it's seemingly ineffective at notifications both in the community tab and for actual streams. But okay, so I Am Ion's Cat asked, who was that secret society who ran the show in the game? We'll get to that in a second. Let's get everybody's rating, and then I'll give my breakdown, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. Yeah, Sun UV, Liberty, Ip Man, and Tony Jaa were good stuff too. Yeah, in the previous stream I was only discussing Hollywood. I will do another podcast on Asian cinema. Jamie Barbario says 4 out of 5. We're doing a 10 rating scale. Heracles says, I did love the movie. It still holds up on a rewatch. Lord Zed says, it's like a top 10 personal favorite for me. Heracles says, the ending wasn't perfect. I Am Ion's Cat said, did your parents get that book for you with your name printed in it when you were a kid? Fortunately, unfortunately, I think the game was a movie of that book. I'm not following you, I Am Ion's Cat. I don't know what you mean by that. I Am Ion's Cat's rating is an 8. Heracles is an 8. Pinto Sack says, I tried to get my wife to watch it, but the clown in the trailer scared her and she refused. You know what I can't get over? I'm going to do a podcast on clowns as well. Clown and clone. Clown and clone. Was it there was, which channel did that deep analysis on clowns? It was either Mind Unveiled or Conspiracies R Us. It might have been Conspiracies R Us. They did a couple of they did a couple of videos on clones, and they also tied it to this character Bob. It was pretty creepy. And then going all back through history. Taylo Biz gives it an 8.5. Lord Zed, we might get the stream shut down for me saying clown and clone. It's a bit of a coincidence for me. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. It's a little bit, just a touch. Yeah, Bob the Clown. Okay. Alright, so I have to say, so here's the thing. I enjoyed watching the movie. It was quite well made. But I can't rate the movie highly for a number of reasons. The main reason why I almost want to say I dislike it is because of how much I like the setup. See, if the setup is, let's say the same thing with Lakeview Terrace. One of the reasons I kind of dislike it is because I like the setup so much. It is so good. And then they kind of fumbled the second and third act. With the game, the only fumble was the end. And it's actually more accurately, they fumbled it, they recovered, and then they fumbled again. That would actually be the most accurate description for me with the game. So my main issue, I'll address the alternate ending real quick for those that haven't seen it. In the alternate ending, he just walks out of the hotel and walks down the street alone. He doesn't go talk to, oh, now I just completely forgot who the actress was. Deborah Kara Unger. I'm also not really a Sean Penn fan. The guy's a goof. He did have that one good cop movie, though. I forgot the name of it. It was pretty good, though. I am Iron's cat says at the end, unfortunately ends with a party just like the game. Okay, here's my issue with the game. The willing suspension of disbelief gets stretched kind of far. So they rigged the whole, like, they rigged entire areas for gunfire with fake guns or blanks, shooting blanks. How could they have shut down such large portions of streets? I mean, there were a lot of times where there was almost nobody on the streets. So this is San Fran, millions of people. I mean, what's the population of San Francisco? I mean, actually, it's under a million. Interesting. So back around to under a million, over 700,000. But then you got people going into the city for work. So there could potentially be literally a million people at any given time. And the streets are straight empty. Now, if it's a horror movie, that's different. If we're adding paranormal or sci-fi elements, obviously that's different. You know, you only have to play by the rules of the world that is created. But so supposedly it's a realistic psychological thriller. I don't have a problem with the company having tons of people because they never actually revealed how much it costs. Because if he's worth $600 million, I mean his brother probably has a certain amount of millions. So if the whole game, let's say that if it costs 10, 20 million, even $30 million, they clearly can afford it. So I don't have an issue with the amount of people working for the company. I don't have an issue with how expensive it is. I have an issue with the logistics. The logistics. Like they're gonna empty out an entire hospital. So they're gonna have an ambulance. I mean, they have to get all the permits with the cops. Not that they wouldn't do that. It's just the logistics of doing it. It's an issue. It's an issue. Like if this was set in a smaller town, it would be a lot easier to digest. Like not even it could still be a city, just not one of the biggest cities in the US, a smaller city. So there were a few other issues too. So did they plant those guys? I would probably have to look this up. Did they plant those guys at the club talking about how they played the game and they wish they could play it again for the first time? I mean, there's so many problems with it. So, was his housekeeper in on it? I mean, I'm assuming they would have had to have gotten her in on it because otherwise, how would they? They got onto his mansion and ransacked everything. That's not cool. I mean, it's just a lot of it's just the logistical issues. Like they own an entire skyscraper and they just keep switching floors. I mean, that's kind of weird. Where are the security cameras? Like from the main entrance of the building? Like the cops never even brought that up? Or did they get the whole cops involved? Do they own the entire police force? Because if so, I mean, okay. I mean, they can maybe do that. The Ring is a pretty good movie, yes. I've actually never watched the Japanese version. Supposedly there were real suicides after the Japanese version. So the logistics were a huge issue. So they also paid off a news anchor, like a famous news anchor, to talk to him specifically on his broadcast, or was that pre-recorded? I mean, there were a lot of issues with this. So his brother was simply acting. So his brother is just this phenomenal actor now. And when he came to the house and they sped away, all to get. And how did they really know which moves he was going to make? I guess they didn't. They were just tracking his phone. I mean, I think it would have been a lot stronger plot a few different ways if they really did want to just steal his money. Because the double fake it, like, it would have been a good ending. So it was kind of like meta. It was one of the first meta movies because they're basically predicting, like, how could they have been sure that he wouldn't have gotten a real gun from somewhere else? I mean, Like, how could they have searched that house so thoroughly? Maybe there was like a basement crawl space or a hidden. I mean, how did they know for sure? They checked every book in that damn library and they replaced his gun with blanks. There's a lot of issues with this movie. I'm actually surprised it's as highly rated as it is, just because of the logistics. I actually think it's a brilliant setup, and that's what annoys me, is because the setup was so brilliant. I mean, I'm not really that much of a David Fincher fan in general, but I believe his other movies are much stronger. Like Seven. I actually haven't even watched that many of his movies. Let's see. Yeah, Seven was good. Seven was an excellent film. Alien 3 I thought was also excellent. Director's cut anyway. I don't know if I've ever even seen the theatrical. Fight Club. Fight Club has potential issues. I've only seen Fight Club twice. I'd probably have to watch it again to really have a good opinion on it. And I actually haven't seen Benjamin Button. I haven't seen Zodiac, believe it or not. And I believe I've seen Panic Room, and I thought that was good. Okay, so yeah, I think this is one of Fincher's weakest movies. Yeah, Total Recall. Total. I haven't seen the remake, but I want to see the remake. Total Recall is one of my favorite Arnold movies. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues with the game. I mean, maybe my opinion is unpopular, but I love the setup. I thought it was brilliant. So, I think it would have been better if they pretended to steal his money, but then they didn't, and then they did. But the whole double meta, where how did they know for sure the gun was fake? He could have got a gun anywhere. He could have bought it off some guy on the street. So there's just so many logistical issues. Even when he jumped off the building to commit suicide, how did they know he was going to jump in that one spot and not off the side of the building on the other side? It just, these kind of holes, it doesn't make any sense. And then the logistics of the cab driver leaping out of the cab. I mean, they said there was a scuba diver for safety. What safety? If he hit his head, he could have lost consciousness immediately. They might have not been able to break him back. It's just the logistics of the movie. It, it was hard to get past that. It would have been better if it was real and they were really trying to kill him. Like, and so they drugged him, sent him to Mexico. Like, he could have been killed. He could have been killed by cartels on the street, by other homeless people. I mean, nobody cares. I mean, he's in another country. I mean, okay, maybe the company was international. Did they pay? Even if they paid off the police in Mexico, they can't pay off every single homeless person unless they're claiming they did that. So the game had so many problems. I thought it'd be much better because I don't think his brother could be that good of an actor. I mean, was he just this brilliant actor? Sean Penn, the Sean Penn character? It would have been more believable if the company really were trying to kill him. Or not necessarily trying to kill him, but they didn't care if he died or not. They just they wanted to steal his life and all his money. Yes, Lord Zed said it's crazy he thought it was a real life and it was a game. Yeah, no, there's definitely philosophical parallels here that I thought were very interesting, but I think they could have been made even more interesting if it either was real or it wasn't real, but then he really did kill his brother, but then he didn't commit suicide. The other major thing I didn't like, they never fully explained the deal with his father's suicide. So those photographs in the hotel, so like his father had some kind of a situation where he saw no way out. They wanted him to feel that to forgive his father and heal or whatever. I mean, what was really the point of the entire movie, the game? I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, it gave him new appreciation for life, etc., etc. But the logistics, it's a bridge too far regarding the willing suspension of disbelief. It would have been more believable if they wanted to steal all his money. Captain Hatton, you, my friend, do not understand the cardinal rule of filmmaking. The cardinal rule of filmmaking is not that you have to be realistic. You can make up any rules of the world that you want. You could do sci-fi, supernatural, whatever. But you don't break your own rules that you set up. That's the cardinal rule of filmmaking. Yeah, obviously movies can be a metaphor, but they have to work within the framework of the cardinal rule. This is one of the reasons I really didn't like Shutter Island, because Scorsese broke the rule. He left firm clues on multiple theories simultaneously, which you never do. You can be ambiguous, you can leave, things unknown, but you can't leave definitive, mutually exclusive points in the movie. That's breaking the cardinal rule. Yeah, I mean, poking holes in movies is fun, but it's more, again, depending on what's the purpose. Like when you have such a good setup, that it was disappointing just because the setup was good, the acting was phenomenal, and the cinematography actually was excellent. I mean, when was the last time a movie had cinematography to set that kind of dreary tone? Where, I mean, obviously the point of the movie was that, he's in the doldrums. He's just he's not really living. He has this routine, whatever. The game, teaches him appreciation for life, etc. But the logistics of all of it, I think it's not like it wasn't fixable. It was almost, again, kind of like Lakeview Terrace, where it was almost like a first draft script. And all the components were there for brilliance, but they just didn't really quite hit the mark for brilliance. But they could have, and that's kind of what my issue is. Like, if it was a more average movie with a more average setup, who cares, right? It's fun, you watch it, whatever. But when it's that good of a setup, it's just kind of more disappointing. No, Captain Hatton, because in Indiana Jones, the guy's an adventurer. It works within the scope of that universe. The game is not the Indiana Jones action adventure universe. Yeah, I mean, my main issue with Lakeview Terrace is I thought it would be more poignant if Sam Jackson pretended to be their friend for longer, and then they did more psychological aspects where all the neighbors love Sam Jackson. So when he starts to turn on them slowly, all the neighbors support Sam Jackson instead of them, and they could have done a nice slow build there. And then the other major issue is Sam Jackson's kids just disappear, and there's never any resolution for anything. The son, just throughout the whole first act, the daughter, they had her interact with the guy's wife, whatever. There was something there. There was a point to it. It seemed like they were setting up the son for something, and then that just never came to fruition. But yeah, no, just the amount of variables, the amount of things that could have gone wrong in the game. Everything from the taxi going into the water, to the jump off the building, to the gun being real, to him committing suicide as soon as he found out his bank accounts were empty. I mean, $600 million lost. I mean, it's just the whole thing. It does. I think it would have worked better if it really was a nefarious company that actually stole his money. It would have worked better than he had to figure out. Because, so they knew that, so it was always part of the plan that he would go to their headquarters and walk in on all the it's so meta. I don't know. It's just, it didn't quite work for me. It didn't work for me. There should have been more to it with his family story. Like, if his dad played the game and then committed suicide because of the game, that would have made more sense. Like, if they did weave more of a secret society Illuminati vibe, that would have been much more interesting. I Am Iron's Cat said, maybe it was the game was tuned to how much consciousness people watching it had in 98, and people have more consciousness now, and the plot holes are too great these days compared to pre 9/11. Not really. I mean, there's a lot of really complex movies from that time period, and even prior. No excuse now. Don't make excuses. I Am Iron's Cat. They could have. There was actually another movie. Now I'm trying to remember. There was a movie similar to the game, not exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that other movie was. It was older than the game. It was. I mean, we could even. It wasn't Hard Target with Van Damme, but even in Hard Target with Van Damme, where rich people hunt homeless people, it still kind of checked all the boxes. I wish they would release the complete cut of Hard Target with Van Damme. Well, I'm going to make a confession because I don't remember any of the Indiana Jones movies, so perhaps I need to do a watch. I don't remember any of them. Basically, I mean, I remember a couple of scenes, but I don't remember the movie as a whole. Yeah, Lord Zed, they had to make it so he almost died. That's the game. But yeah, but the recklessness, it's kind of like they stack the meta with the recklessness. So they always plan for him to figure it out and go to their headquarters. It's just weird. It's just so weird. I probably would have to watch it again with commentary. I might watch it with commentary at some point, but I did not, I just thought it would have worked a lot better if they really stole his money. The Running Man, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movies. No, it wasn't. It was actually quite similar to the game. It was like a city setting, but there weren't that many people in on it, and I really don't remember. I'm thinking possibly late '80s, kind of low budget. It wasn't exactly like the game though, so it's not. The game didn't really rip it off or anything. I was trying to remember because there was a lot of nuance in this other movie as well, but they covered all their bases, unlike the game. I mean, but it was definitely a great movie to watch. I mean, it definitely was a good. It was definitely a good one for the homework assignment, just to dissect it like this. The Ice-T Rutger Hauer movie with Gary Busey also was surviving the game 1994, and I need to rewatch that one. There was also wasn't there a Michael Dudikoff movie? Hold on a second. This isn't the one I'm thinking of either. There was a Michael Dudikoff movie. I'll get the exact name. It couldn't have been Avenging. There's no way that was Avenging Force. Was that Avenging Force? It might have been. No, that couldn't have been Avenging Force. A senator is targeted by the Pentangle, a right-wing paramilitary group. His pal, a former CIA agent and martial artist, tries to help him. The group kidnaps the agent's sister and tries to hunt him down. The Most Dangerous Game style. I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing up more than one movie. I watched a lot of movies once upon a time. The Most Dangerous Game, 1932. A psychotic big game hunter deliberately strands a luxury yacht on a remote island where he begins to hunt its passengers for sport. I actually haven't seen The Most Dangerous Game, 1932. I'm going to have to check that one out. Hello, Johnny R. Kramer, the Music Movie Channel. Memento. No, it wasn't Memento. I need to watch Memento again as well. I think I've seen it 3 times, and I have a different issue with it every time I see it. It was 2000. That's not that much later. 97 and 2000. What sounds incredible, Lord Zed? Avenging Force with Michael Dudikoff. You haven't seen the Michael Dudikoff movie, Avenging Force? We forgot to talk about Dudikoff in the American Ninja movies. That was kind of the heyday of action movies. See, the American Ninja movies don't hold up, sadly. Unfortunately, I tried to rewatch them a while back. I mean, they are tough. David Bradley is also not bad. I think he was in the 5th American Ninja movie. So yeah, that's my take on the game. I would probably rate it a 6 just because of the logistics. I would rate the setup a 10, the cinematography 9.5. I mean, just absolutely brilliant cinematography. The acting was really solid too, probably a 9 from everybody all across the board. Flat Bob with a question here. I mean, honestly, there's thousands upon thousands of military aged men coming across the border without their families. So, what's the deal? Your thoughts? I mean, logically, so obviously, a certain percentage of them, their family could already be here, or their family's going to come later. Now, the problem is what percentage is that? Is it 5 or is it 90? See, if it's 5, that's a problem because then you have the majority of them clearly not coming here for family reasons. But, yeah, I mean, well, this is Mindshock, but I don't want to get the stream shut down. Uh, Apparently, if there is some kind of plan to create civil unrest, to usher in martial law, etc., I mean, this would be one way of accomplishing that. Again, I don't claim anything is true or untrue. This is Mindshock, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. So I am not claiming that that is the goal or the purpose, but you know, like with many things, we don't really know. But I mean, there are definitely some good people coming over. I've known people who came in illegally and they became upstanding citizens, and yeah, no issues. Unfortunately, again. I don't know the percentage. How the percentages divvy up. Are they the 1%? Are they the 90%? No way. I mean, is there really a way to know? Heracles says multi pronged. Lord Zed says, I just love the game. Whenever I sit in a leather chair, I think if when Michael Douglas did in that movie when he gets home and looks so comfortable. Wait, who's reporting who? What is going on in the chat? What? Fight Club has some issues. I would have to watch it again. It had some issues. Alright, so are we done with the game here? Any final thoughts on the game? I think it was a missed opportunity, honestly. I thought the setup was absolutely incredible. And I think it's kind of a missed opportunity to explore deeper themes. Because they could have had the club or whatever, the company, be even more sinister. There was no real explanation on who is behind the company or why it even exists or who funds it. Clearly they have a lot of money. I just thought it was a missed opportunity. It was just absolutely incredible setup. The tension was great, the acting was great, cinematography was great. And yeah, I thought the final act, if his father possibly had something to do with the company, either playing the game or possibly even being an agent of the game and someone got killed playing the game and he committed suicide because of that or whatever, they're just, I don't know. Missed opportunity is the best way I could describe that movie. I did like the fact that, so in the original ending, when he pauses to talk to the blonde and she asks him if he wants to have a coffee at the airport and the movie cuts off, I like that they did that because they didn't reveal whether or not the game changed him. And now he's going to start, living his life more, developing more relationships, etc., instead of going back to his closed off world where it's just, grind work day in, day out. I never ascribe percentages, Captain Hatnin. I have quite a lot of experience with foreign people from many different countries, my friend. I've also traveled to many of them. Not sure about you, though. Have you? And even if you have, obviously different people have different experiences with different people. I actually know quite a few people who've done a lot of traveling abroad, and they have opposite experiences. They were robbed, had terrible, and then other people who went to the exact same places, they had phenomenal experiences. Just like everywhere, right? Radioactive Dreams. (1984) Albert Pyun. I don't know how I haven't seen this. Wait, Michael Dudikoff is in this? How have I not seen this movie? There is no... I must have seen this. I don't remember anything about it. I thought I had seen just about every Michael Dudikoff movie. This is so strange. It doesn't ring a bell. Huh. It does not ring a bell. I will check it out, though. Man, is this a Mandela? I mean, this looks like an Oscar contender. I don't know what you mean by bad movies. I mean, this looks absolutely positively brilliant. I don't think Albert Pyun can make a bad movie if he tried. Alright, so we went over the game. The homework assignment for the next Q&A is The Glass House. So, any other questions? Okay, hold on. Taylo Biz says it had great potential overall. I think it was good, but the ending was disappointed. Was disappointing. Are you referring to the game, Taylo Biz? Flat Bob says, Bruce, if you were forced to eat one specific kind of food or one specific dish for the rest of your life, what would it be? Ooh, that's tough. Yes, Taylo Biz, I agree. Absolutely brilliant setup. And the final act, there was just so much potential there. There's so much they could have done with the company, connections to his father, and they didn't. Since nobody wants to touch the border topic. Well, the problem is we don't have enough information, like what to do with the border topic. I mean, this has been ongoing, for many, many years. Everything from, I don't know, they want to stack the deck with illegal voters. I mean, is it all part of, I mean, if you really want to get into it, I mean, we can get into the Kalergi plan. The populist devoid of identity plan. Unlike many other people, I don't postulate on who would be in charge of it, but basically just a plot to make nations not have any identities and just lawlessness and disorder, across the board. Yeah, the great replacement, however you want to call it. But to answer the question, about the food, I mean, that's tough. I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that before. That is so tough. Just right now, just super quick, I mean, either watermelon or probably watermelon. You can't go wrong eating watermelon. I mean, you get that hydration. It tastes good. You're not gonna get sick of it. I mean, I would have said maybe a type of wild game or wild fish, but I might get sick of it eating that day in, day out. I don't know if I can see myself getting sick of eating watermelon. Like other sweet fruits and berries, maybe, but there's just something about a good watermelon. Watermelon fills me up just fine. Flat Bob says, so they can create order out of chaos. Perhaps that's what they have hinted at in much of the Illuminati symbolism. Jesse says 33? What do you mean by 33? Freemasonry? Any other questions in here before we wrap this up for the night? I'll be doing the Logic Olympics probably the next round. Anybody can compete in the chat, just rapid fire argumentations with fallacies called out and the ability to score points. Pinto Sack asks, do you eat shrimp? My wife took us to Red Lobster and the stench was unbearable. I like shrimp, but I don't know if I'd like eating a lot of shrimp. Fresh shrimp caught shrimp caught the same day. You can sign me up for that. Shrimp and lobster caught the same day. But that's not, I wouldn't want to eat that a lot. I don't eat that every day. I wouldn't want to eat that every day. Captain Hatton and the Illuminati are behind everything. It's all an Illuminati conspiracy, man. I think there's a lot of false diversions implanted into a lot of the conspiracy theories. Are we really going to get into the statist arguments, legal versus illegal? Who does the world really belong to? Can a government truly own land? Perhaps we'll finish the podcast with that question. Who is anyone to hallucinate they can own land and control other people owning land? Or extort those that attempt to do so? So, there you have it. Another interesting live Q&A, as always. Plenty of fun to be had. I hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the Mindshock podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, as is evident more and more each passing day. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel. That way, make sure you subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.